Hi, welcome to the He Said, She Said with Dr. Q program. This is my virtual living room where I get to invite men and women to talk about marital issues that are quite common among married couples. The goal of this program is to help the man and the woman to understand each other based on how God wired them. And today, I have the privilege of being with a panel of beautiful, articulate, powerful women. So to join me in today's discussion are Rina Filart, Estela de Jesus, Chela Aquino, and Chrina Cuna-Henson. So welcome. Welcome to my virtual living room. And thank you for accepting my invitation. So there's no applause, so it's virtual applause. Okay, so today we're gonna talk about hot topics. But before I do that, before I interview you, I would like you to say something about yourself, what you do or what you used to do, how long you've been married, how many kids and grandkids do you have, if you have grandkids, because the other two don't have yet. So I'll start probably with Estela de Jesus.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Stella, married to Bonnie. I've been married for 40 years and have 3 adult children. 2 singles, so 30, 32, 33, 35, 36, and 37. So I just have one
grandchild.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. How about Rina?
Okay. All right. I'm married, have been married for the last 50 years. We celebrated our golden anniversary last March. We have 13 grandchildren.
Wow.
And, 3 boys, 1 girl. Our oldest son is in the States. I was in the corporate world for 25 years and in the academe for 5. But I'm now finally fully retired, because I retired twice before and I kept getting pulled out of retirement, but I am now fully retired on hold, and this pandemic has really forced me to just stay put, do nothing, enjoy this time of quiet and relaxation. So that's where I am at this time.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. So how about
hello.
Chela Aquino?
Chela Aquino. I'm Chela Aquino. It will be our 25th year next year, January. Yeah, we will be celebrating our 25th. We're now based in KL for more than 3 years. So we have 2 kids. We left our eldest son in Manila because when we came here, he was just finishing his university, last year in university, and now he is in law school. So we brought with us only our then 12-year-old girl, and now she's going to be 16 next month.
Wow. Okay, thanks, Chel. And now we go, I saved the best for last. And she's the youngest.
Baby.
Chrina.
Hi, I'm Chrina Henson. My husband's name is Jonathan. We've been married for 6 years. I am currently pregnant with our 3rd child. My eldest is 2.5. My son is turning 1 in a couple of days. So I'm going to have 3 under 3 for a short period of time. So it's that crazy season of motherhood, crazy beautiful season of motherhood for me with young kids. And I work full-time. I'm the managing director for the ROHEI Foundation. Formerly, my job in the corporate world, I am a video producer. And so I'm still very much involved in that space. I do that occasionally, but right now my heart is really in advocating for the orphans. I do have my eldest child came to us through adoption. So that's something that's in our story. And so it has a lot with what I do, has to do with what I my professional life as well. Yeah.
Wow. You have so much on your plate, huh? Okay, so we all want to walk away from this session with the men out there to have a better understanding of their wives, their moms, or the women in their lives in general. So let's go now to the topics for our discussion. I think one of the main hiccups in marriages is the area of communication. Don't you agree? Agree? I see nodding heads. So what can you tell the men watching this show, how important communication is from our perspective and what they can do to help us feel heard and understood? Let's start off with the youngest one. Let me see.
For the men, I don't know, maybe in terms of communication, I think more, it's probably directed more towards the women, or what I've learned in my short 6 years of marriage, is that sometimes, is that we all know communication is important, and that our husbands can't read our minds, which is sometimes we expect them to. But I've come to discover that actually getting clear first for myself, and if there's something I want to communicate to my husband, or if there's something I'm thinking about and I'm starting to feel like, how come he doesn't notice, or how come he doesn't know that this is what I'm thinking, I start to then pray and ask God, how do I communicate this in a way that, you know, he would understand? And I obviously don't want to bring it up to start a fight, right, or to start a disagreement. I want to bring something up. I want to communicate something with the intention of getting clear in our relationship so that we can have a better relationship. So sometimes we see communication as a way of getting heard, or how do you hear my side? But really, I found that what's helpful for me is to take a step back, ask God, Lord, how do I get clear about what I'm feeling so I don't, emotionally, I'm not all over the place. I can first be clear about how I feel and where this sits, and then I can seek God about that and bring it to my husband with a much clearer, less emotional head.
Okay.
I think I communicate better that way. Because
that's on your side, right? What do you want your husband to know, or the men out there, to help you feel heard or understood?
I think I found that, well, at least for me, my husband does a good job at hearing me out and giving me the space to do that. I thought, at least for us, the communication barrier was really on my side, at least for me. That it was more my issue. I couldn't really communicate, or I didn't want to start a fight, or I didn't want to bring up petty things. I didn't want to have to kind of, if it wasn't worth bringing up, I might harbor that in my heart and not bring it up. Which I realized was actually our communication issue. That was how I was wired. So I think at least for me, my husband did a great job at hearing me out and giving me the space to do that. It was always a safe space for me to talk about how I was feeling and what was going on with me. But I was the one who needed work. So,
but you're also saying that the men should be sensitive also if you're, like going through something that could help.
Yeah, I think being that safe place for us to share our emotions, and sometimes to not always be clear about it in the beginning, but to help us get clear about how we're feeling, and to be that safe place for us to be vulnerable and to share what might not make sense, but to share it anyway.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, thanks, Rina. How about, I want to hear from Chel. How do you make Jay understand or help you feel heard and understood?
Well, basically, I think communication is very important. I think it is sort of the backbone of any marriage. And also, I think communication for us women is like our version of sex for men. I mean, I'm speaking for myself. I think communication is our way of connecting with them, just as men connect with the wives, in a physical, intimate way.
Okay.
And I think what can I say about? I think, you know, for men or for my husband, I think, you know, really being there in the conversation and not just, you know, just trying to breeze his way out of it. You know, really listening, being really being there, and not half-hearted about it, not being there but absent. You know, I think you know, that's a sin. I
That
think
will
being in
help.
a conversation and
Uh,
being absent really is a sin in communications between couples.
so being engaged, in other words, that
Yeah,
will help.
being fully there, I think.
Fully there. Okay, si Stella. I want to hear from Stella.
Yeah, I think, yeah, she's right, no, that it's very important. Communication is very important in a relationship. I think not only with the husband, but even with our children. I think because as a woman, for me, I guess it's generally speaking, women are more relational, and of course, communication is very important. Although, because we differ in personalities, not only personalities, because we were, like Bonnie and me, we were trained from, you know, coming from two families, talagang magkaiba. And at the same time, the culture, and at the same time, the different influences that we have gone through, like with me, I was working before, I was in the corporate world, 10 years, 10 years of our marriage, I was working. Yeah. So communication actually is really needed. I mean, we really have to work on it. Like with me, basically, I'm very open. I'm more confrontational. But like Bonnie is, he's an engineer. He's more technically minded. He's very logical. So actually, we balance each other. But we had a tough time, especially when the children were there. Of course, whatever is you want to make, you want to be the best mom. He wants to be the best dad, and at the same time, because of the different influences that we had, the way he was reared and the way I was reared also, it's hard. So in trying to balance each other, the importance of really communicating without offending each other, minsan kailangan din, di ba? But it's more of attaining the we, na hindi tayo magkalaban. Communication is really the
Yes. Yeah.
So it's a journey. Nag-iiba-iba sa bawat season eh. What you used to enjoy talking about, kung mag-boyfriend kayo or early part of your marriage, was fun before. But now, on our 40th year, ngayon nag-lockdown, parang minsan, yun ang nakaka-irita naman yun. Parang naiirita rin siya sa akin. Parang gano'n. Of course, with walang health and everything. So I guess we just have to learn parate on how to adjust in every system. I think in communication, kasi tatlo lang naman eh. Communication, sex, and money. So in different seasons of our marriage, parang nag-iiba siya eh. But I think the most important thing pa rin is yung living a life, parang life of love.
Yeah.
You adjust.
Yes. Okay. I'm sure Rina has been married for, 50 years. So you've had a lot of adjustments too, right? So when it comes to communication, how did you navigate Abet's personality?
Okay, I probably have a different take on communication. As everybody knows, we are the talkers and the men don't like to talk, right? And so early on, I figured, understanding how important communication is, I'm a counselor by training, okay, by education, and a psychologist. And so I felt it was important that I begin to draw out Abet because he is a quiet person, okay? So the problem with communication would be more him communicating with me than me communicating with him, okay? Because we are natural talkers, right? Okay. And but we both have to understand that just like they complain, we can't read your mind, so we can't read their minds either. Okay, so they have to talk, we have to talk. And I learned early on that even though he is fairly quiet, okay, and he tends to just listen more than talk, when you get him onto a topic that is interesting to him, he can talk my head off. Okay, he can keep talking and talking and talking. So I just learned to align myself to the things that interest him, and that was usually what he was working on. And fortunately, you know, there's a saying, and Estela mentioned something about being different. You know, there's a saying that opposites attract, but I believe that it's similarities that keep you together and make life easy to navigate. Yes. You know, and I guess I'm very blessed that Abbott and I are very similar in many, many ways. So there's not a lot of differences to navigate through. And so as I listen and he realizes I'm really interested in what he's telling me, you know, whether it's his work, and usually it's about his work, you know, he's learned to listen to me. Okay. And, you know, so and I'm not one that has a lot of issues anyway, you know. And so, and like I said, many times when we converse, it's about things that are very common to us, very similar. We have very similar points of view, you know, and we agree a lot. So we're kind of like really good friends, you know. And so I find that communication has not really been a problem for us, and which is great. I'm very blessed that is, and I really am thankful to God that that's not an issue for us, because I know it's an issue with so many people. You know, but I think you're need to what interests your husband and draw him out of that. You know, draw him there. And I think, like I said, if he realizes that we're listening, I think he'll also begin to get the listening habit. You know.
Yeah, I think that's my key takeaway from your message. This is a message both for men and women. So if you want to draw out information from your men, try to get into their world first and show your interest so that they will, you know, be interested in what you say, right? Okay, so now anybody can answer this question. What turns you off when you're trying to communicate something to your man?
When he's looking at his cell phone all the time.
You're saying something.
Right.
Yes. Bullseye. And another one, any other comment?
Agree.
Yeah, I mean, when he is clearly distracted, you know, glancing at his cell phone, or when he clearly, you know, is just riding through the conversation, or, you know, you can feel sometimes that, you know, he wants to hurry it up. He wants to hurry up the conversation and he wants to finish it. He wants to get away from that conversation. And sometimes when, you know, when he's just pretending to be there, like, you know, responding in phrases, you can feel that he's not there, you know, that's kind of,
okay. Yeah. Any other, no, Chrina, you don't have a problem with that?
No, I think I agree. When distracted or, you know, not really there, or maybe, or maybe not sharing what's on his mind. Like if he has a different perspective, just giving in to me. And saying, you know, okay, whatever you want.
Okay.
So it, you know, that can obviously be frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't want him to. I don't want him to give in to me. I want him to tell me what he's thinking as well. Yeah.
I think earlier, I think it was Rina or Stella who mentioned that the men cannot read also our minds, right? They cannot. So what would be helpful for men to know that we, you know, we just want to be heard, not necessarily fixed? What would be a clue? Because I heard from the men, when I interviewed the men, they don't like hearing the phrase, "Can we talk?" They don't like that.
They get scared.
Because it kind of threatens them that they did something wrong again. Or
I think I'll just echo what Chel said.
Yes.
I think, you know, women communicate to connect. So, you know, we feel most connected after sometimes, you know, just sitting down after dinner and just, you know, staying around at the dinner table and the extra 20 minutes of just talking about nothing really. When we say, can we talk, we really just mean, can we connect with you? Can we, you know, I guess especially, at least for me as a mom with kids and, you know, it's a busy day. We're both working, especially now during, you know, this lockdown, we're all at home. And we've seen each other, you pass by, you know, we've talked about things like the kids and, you know, things that need to get done. But can we talk sometimes just means, can we connect? Can we sit down? Can we just slow down, have coffee? Can I process with you what's been going on in my day?
I think that's a less threatening word, connect, than talk for men. I think, because when you say, can we talk? Oops, parang they already, you know, kind of shut off. But can we connect? Can we reconnect?
Yeah.
The men watching now, if you hear the word connect, let's connect.
The same thing.
Okay, so anybody else?
Yeah, okay, I think many times, I think, you know, women just need to be heard, you know, to unburden, to unravel, you know, to release emotions, you know, and, you know, not necessarily to ask for an answer or, you know, for an issue to be fixed. Yeah, we're not looking for a solution. We just want to let it out, you know, because when we're done with the talking, it sort of fixes the problem anyway. You know, I think that's basically my case here, since I'm alone here in KL and I'm alone most of the time and most of the day. So, you know, whenever I have an issue, there's really no one to talk to except my husband when he comes home. So, you know, I just need to let it out, to unburden to him. You know, I'm not really complaining. I'm not really asking for him to solve it, you know, whatever it is, you know. I think, you know, just an hour or less or of us talking about it, it sort of solves it in a way. I don't know. Doesn't have to have an answer, but you know, just letting it all out is good enough for me.
Okay. Stella, you wanted to say something?
I guess it's just like having a friend. No, but I mean, you know, you don't want it fixed anyway, because for them, I think because of what most of them said, that of course what turns us off is when they're not interested or because they're rushing. So the way to make it short is to fix it. When actually, I just want to be heard and want to be understood. I guess I think it works also both ways. I think they also feel like that towards us. I think si Bonnie minsan feeling niya. Siyempre minsan isosolve mo, di ba? O, ganyan. Pero actually, hindi ka lang.
Yeah. But I think the men feel pressure that they have to solve it. We don't need that all the time, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, sige, let's go naman to what do we admire in a man when he's in crisis? Especially now. I mean, we're all in crisis. What qualities draws you closer to your man? So quiet.
Silence.
What do you admire in your husband when he is in crisis?
Maybe
Sige.
in our case, because Bonnie is basically a very quiet person, but at the same time, he feels a lot. And what I admire most about him is he's also very independent-minded, but at the same time, I appreciate his being. He takes responsibility. You know, this is my role, and and he really, I mean, you know, he really thinks about it, and he tries to handle it alone muna. I mean, you know, especially with regards to money matters, because he's more he's more on that because he's a financial consultant. So I'm thankful I have a husband like that. And so even in the things that we do now, so I rely on him on that. Parang ganun.
Oo. Anybody else want to share? Rina?
I think what I admire is when he can actually share with me problems that he's facing. You know, again, I think it's not so much that I would solve it, especially when it's related to his work, because I can't. But just so that he can vent, you know, and I'm there to listen and to encourage him, you know. And at times, depending on the situation, we pray about it, you know. We pray to ask for wisdom for him and that God would take control of the situation. And I like that, you know. And I think it comes with the fact that he's comfortable talking about his work with me. You know? And so when he has problems there, when he's got issues, you know, obstacles to overcome, then he's comfortable talking about that too. And I like that, you know, because then he's not trying to be a false strong person, you know.
Yes.
Who's just always, you know, strong for me or whatever. You know, just like I don't want to be strong all the time, you know, I appreciate it when he's not strong all the time also, because then we can be supportive of each other.
I think that's a good point to bring out.
Yeah.
Because a lot of men think that they're less masculine if they share their problems with their wives. They feel like they have to solve it themselves. So parang I think that's a good quality, no? When a man is man enough to share his burdens with his partner. I think that's very masculine for me. And I think for most of us here. Anybody else? What you admire in your man when he's in crisis? Okay, everything's been said. Okay, so let's go now to also a kind of hot topic, which is about male leadership, especially in the context of, you know, Filipino marriages. Women are, I think all of you are successful, right? Or have been successful in your careers. What do you want men to understand about successful women? What does she still appreciate in spite of all the accolades and, you know, people admiring them? What do you still appreciate to hear from your husband in spite of many people admiring you? You're so galing, you're so accomplished. Or sometimes even if you're earning more than your husband, what do you want men to understand about you, about a successful woman?
Well, I'll answer that and say that I think the first thing to remember, for men to remember, is we're not competing with them.
Yes.
Okay. There's never any competition here. And I think if we women that have found success, always remember that we are blessed to have been at the right place at the right time, you know, and God has given us the talent to be successful, you know, and the reason we've been able to be successful is that we do our best to be excellent in what we do, you know, and that's really all that it's all about. It's not about, you know, taking any glory for ourselves. It's not about competing with our husbands. It's not whether or not I earn more than he does, or, you know, I'm recognized more than he is. It's about just using what God has given me and putting me in the right place at the right time so that I could be, you know, successful. Because sometimes even if we're talented and, you know, we have all this knowledge, if we're not in the right place, then we don't shine, we don't bloom, right? So successful women, I believe, are there because they have been put there at the right time, at the right place, to be able to shine, to be able to use their talent. Otherwise, we wouldn't be successful, you know? So, you know, if husbands understand that, I think then there would be less friction, you know, between husband and wife when the woman seems to be more successful and seems to be earning more. And I, for one, again, I would say I am very appreciative of the fact my husband has always been very supportive of me. You know, he has never held me back. He has always actually encouraged me, you know, to pursue what I want to pursue. And I think that's just absolutely fantastic.
Okay, so there are a lot of men kasi who are intimidated when they have successful women in their lives. And that's a good point to bring out that, you know, we're not here to compete with them. We just so happen that God gave us these gifts and we're put in the right place at the right time. Rina, you want to share something?
Okay.
You're back.
Okay. Sure. I think I really agree with what Rina shared about not competing. I think for women, it's, you know, I recognize that I can only do the work that I do, and I can only be successful because my husband has given me the space to do that. Especially because I have many roles, and my husband is my first priority, my children are my next priority, my career comes third at best, right? And it's because of his grace, and it's because he's allowed me the space to flourish and to do what I feel God has called me to do in this season, that I'm able to do that. And so I'm very grateful for that. And I think just that reassurance that, I think what really encourages me and what I value a lot is the reassurance from him that, you know, Chrina, what you're doing is good work and it's worth doing. It's worth the sacrifice, and him recognizing that to be successful in the marketplace, to be successful in the different things that God has called us to outside of our family life. That's a privilege. That's something that we've been given the space to do. And when he sees that, and I know, and that he recognizes as well that it's valuable, that it's good work, that it's an opportunity that excites him, you know, and seeing him be excited for me to do well in that space is wonderful. You know, that's how he shows his support for me. And I think that's something that continues to encourage me to do that, continues to encourage me to wear different hats in life. Because the truth is, my family is my priority, and they must come first. And if they don't think that what I'm doing is valuable, then I probably shouldn't be doing it anyway. But to hear the support from my husband to say, you know, I see the sacrifice. I see that you've made personal sacrifices so that you can do and accomplish what you're doing, and to be successful in whatever field that it is you're pursuing. That's encouraging. That's wonderful. That's what, you know, as a woman, I desire to hear. And that he's saying, you know, and also to recognize the effort in the other spheres of life. In motherhood, he continues to recognize, so I saw what you did for me. You know, I really appreciate it when you bring me coffee during my meetings. And to kind of just recognize and affirm also the other roles that I have as a woman, as a wife, as a mom, is helpful for me to continue to be successful in these other areas.
Yeah. Because what my observation is among, you know, marriages that I encountered are, you know, the women are more successful than the men, so that the men are intimidated, so they don't take the lead anymore. So they kind of allow the women to take the lead, which is reversing the order. So how can a man help you to learn to let him lead? And how critical that is to you? How do you balance that, knowing that you are a leader in your, you know, in your industry, and sometimes could do things better, right? So how will the man, how can a man help you learn to let him lead?
For me, maybe based on my experience, there are things that, you know, he does well and I do well, and there are things that I do excellently. I'm more on the detail side. And I think the key there is you can make them feel the leader when you ask for their help. Like with the ministry, like you know, I discipled women, and most of the women are single moms, and most of them have, you know, they need counsel on the financial side things. So I talk to him about it, and then eventually we get together with them. So it's more of what I cannot do. I can see that he's good at it, so I ask for help. So, you know, as women, we feel good in parang when you're calling for help, diba? They're there. And even with ako kasi medyo I'm not a strong person when it comes to crisis, lalo na yung sa kunyari like what's this in selling or in conflicts because I help in managing the properties. So ako I'm good in looking for buyers, yung ganyan. Pero pag medyo rough na yung dealing, yung medyo mahirap yung negotiation, yung ganyan, medyo mahina ako doon. Kasi, ano na, ikaw na dyan, parang gano'n. So I ask for his help. So I don't care about how much we'll earn from it. Basta ako, I'll source the buyer or you take care of closing the deal. Pag yung medyo, ano na, yung the hard part of it, medyo I turn it over that way. Ikaw na bahala dyan. I don't hear. Parang I don't hear anymore.
Okay. So that that's applicable when you're not so good at a certain area and then you allow him to lead, right? What if you know that you can do that thing better, and then how will you encourage him to lead anyway?
Yeah, because my personality is I'm always consultative, and I find it hard for me to make decisions alone. Yeah, maybe because I'm the eldest of 6 children, and I tend to, you know, to talk to everybody, and it's more of parang what's good for everybody. So consensus ako parati. So yon, parang I find it hard not to get a go signal.
So consulting him, even if you know what you're gonna do, it makes him take the lead somehow. Ganun ba? Acknowledging his leadership.
Yeah. I don't have any confidence when it comes to the areas where he is strong, and I know he's good at it. So I feel more confident kasi we are in this together. Yun pa rin yung concept ng we.
Kasi there's so many strong Filipino women eh. So many strong Filipino wives who are so gifted. You know, they handle big companies. And then how do they shift and how do they allow the husband to lead in spite of what they, you know, the nature of their job, you know, telling people what to do. And then when it comes to home context, how do they, you know, encourage the leadership in their husband? So that's quite important, right? And Rina, parang you wanna say something.
Yeah, you know, the leadership dilemma of the men, I think, even my husband, was not so much that it's because I'm successful, you know, and whatever. It's because, you know, the Philippines is a matriarchal society, as you have mentioned. And therefore, men have been taught to not lead in the home, okay? Because everything revolves around the mother. The children ask permission from the mother. You know, when the children are sick, they run to the mother. It's a very matriarchal, you know, circle. And so when the men get married, they expect the woman just take care of everything in the home, okay? Because that's what they saw their mother do. And when we became Christians, and I realized that, you know, it says that the man is the head of the home. He's supposed to be the leader, you know, for that, you know, so that when the children would come to me, hey, mom, can I do this? Or mom, you know, like this, I'd say, wait a minute, is your father home? You know? And I said, then you should ask your dad. Okay? So that encouraged the children to begin to understand, you know, so that when they get married, they realize that that's supposed to be the role. You know, it's not just for the situation there, but to also train them that that's the way it should be. Okay? And so, you know, and maybe because, I don't know about the other women, but because, you know, you're already tired from your work and everything, when you come home, you want somebody else to take over those responsibilities. So I was actually happy to have Abbott take them on, you know, and he did. When he realized also that, hey, I'm supposed to take the lead here, you know, then he did, you know. But at first it was difficult because the children would always tend to revolve around, you know, me, go to me and stuff like that. And Abbott was happy to let them do that. But in time, it became that. And I'm glad that because of that also, my children now understand, my 3 boys understand their involvement in the family and their leadership, you know, that they have to have in their family now that they're raising their own. You know, so it's just understanding that that's the role that husbands are supposed to play, and working together to let them become that leader in the home, both spiritually and in the natural.
Wow, and that says it all. Chrina, you want to add something? Because you're a working woman.
No, I mean, I agree. Thank you. That was really insightful. I think, just giving them the space to do that. And even though I could know, maybe I might know what to do. You know, I give my best, and if he asks for my opinion or my thoughts about it, I'm happy to share what's on my mind. But ultimately, giving him the space to lead and saying, sure, I might know, but I trust your leadership. You know, letting him also feel like I trust his leadership, I think is very important. So that he knows that I'm with you if that's what you've decided, even if I might feel there might be another way to do it. Being secure enough to say, all right, you know, I trust your God-given leadership and let's go that way.
Great. Okay. So I'm going to move to one of the hatest topics of women, which is submission. Okay. So I would like you to share what would make you submit to your husband more. Because a lot of women, that's a big issue, like submitting to the husband, right? So what would make you submit to your husband more? What do you want the men to hear? Okay, sige. I would, you know, be submissive to you if you're more like this. I don't know if that's a valid question, but what would make you submit to your husband more? What are the things that you appreciate they do that, you know, parang submitting is not a burden to you? Stella?
Una.
Mahirap ba yung tanong?
Dangerous.
Question kasi, di ba, that we have in, I guess, when it comes to submission, kasi I think you really have to know how your partner feels really about what it is. Parang ano di ba, parang kahit yung pagluto ng adobo, iba-ibang gusto, di ba? Yung iba gusto masabaw, yung iba gusto mantika. So I guess it's a matter of knowing also what he means by it. Kasi even with me, I thought I was submitting because I was doing everything. Okay, I left my job because that was what was called for when my children were getting sick. Yung ganon, no? Parang in my heart, I just felt like, bakit ang feeling niya, hindi pa rin ako nagsasubmit? Parang gano'n. While I left my job, there's no maid, I'm doing everything. Ganyan. And I think the issue of having God in the partnership, in the marriage is very important. And I used to think, but what does submission really means, no? Because, you know, we can get it from a lot of counseling and everything. Submit to your husband in everything, diba? And it's not easy, especially if you keep hearing about it, diba? And you really feel bad, you're forcing yourself. So I had to really get to be on my knees to ask, what does really submission mean? Because
what would make it easy for you, Stella? What would make it easy for you?
I guess it's understanding really what he really means by it. Kasi I had a hard time because he felt that I'm not submitting, and the realization that he is the husband that God gave me. Because I feel submitted, but he feels I'm not. So, diba, may Holy Spirit siya. Sabi ko, may Holy Spirit din ako. Bakit ganon? Until I realized, parang I felt like, who should feel that you are submitted? You or siya? Diba? So if he's not feeling that I am submitted, although in the natural, everything for me, I feel submitted. Pero if he doesn't feel that I am, then it's something that I have to deal with God. Parang ganon. And I realized that the thought and the realization that God, you gave him to me as a husband, so honoring his role and that he is over me is enough. So parang that settled it. And there was a change. I realized that. Parang ganon.
I heard some married women kasi that, you know, if the men show more affection to them, it's easy to submit. But when they're always parang Hitler, you know, do this, do that, you know, it's kind of difficult to submit. Although we need to submit, right? But what do we need to tell the men to make it easy for us to submit?
I think when you feel love and, you know, affection.
Yeah. Anybody else?
When I do seminars and we talk about family, and submission always comes in. You know, obviously I don't look like a submitted person. Okay, I mean, you know, when you look at me, you don't think, oh yeah, she would be very submissive. Okay, but I do ask because this has become a revelation to me. I do ask, why is it that we have no problem submitting to Jesus? And the answer is because we know that Jesus loves us. And therefore, anything that, you know, would be, it's because he loves us, you know, and it says perfect love casts out fear. So I believe that if we are just comfortable and secure in our husband's love for us, and that, you know, he's given us the opportunity anyway to discuss the things that we are at odds are. Okay, we've been able to talk about it. We've been able to express our, you know, both sides and all that. And at the end, his decision is still not exactly what we want. But if we're secure and comfortable that, you know, he loves you, you know, I mean, my husband loves me, and he's not going to make a decision that is not good for me and my family. Okay, then I can submit, you know. And this was brought home to me very clearly one time when, really after discussion and everything, and I really still didn't like his decision. But then the Holy Spirit spoke to me and said, you know, so what are you going to do now? You know, and I said, well, you know, your word says to submit. And so I will submit and I will trust you to guide my husband. And, you know, at the end, he was right. And I'm glad I submitted, you know, but ever since then, it's not been a problem for me to submit. As long as, like I said, I am comfortable and secure that my husband loves me, and the decisions he makes are because he believes it is in my interest and the interest of the family, you know, then, you know, it's up to the Lord to guide him, you know, in case we're still not in agreement, that, you know, to make that decision, you know, at least in our best interest.
I think you were on point in everything that you said. Kasi that's very important for women, for anybody to feel that they are loved, because when you know that you're loved, then you start trusting that person in whatever decisions he will make. So it's the same with our husbands, no? So I go now to because we're running out of time. I go to the highlight of our conversation, which is sex, which is so important to men, right? So knowing that sex is quite important to men, depends on what stage you are in your marriage. What do they need to know about women to set the stage for being intimate with us? Because for men, it's like a switch lang on and off. They're easily aroused. But what do they need to know about women, that we don't just get into it without any preparation? Chel, you want to share?
Okay. I guess a woman's foreplay, sorry, happens long before the actual sex.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, you know, the husband has to be kind and attentive and caring and sweet, but in a non-sexual way, in a non-sexual kind of way. Because, you know, I think it gets the woman. When the woman knows that, you know, you're not really, you know, just doing things for the sex, you know, I think, you know, for example, holding hands, hugs, kissing on the forehead, on the hair, you know, and when the man is being more appreciative, more loving, you know, those things, I think, you know,
helps.
Yes, and I think it makes me want to jump into bed more than anything else. You know, just being, just feeling loved and appreciated and respected. I think, yeah, those simple and very old-fashioned gestures. You know, I think that's a good strategy for men to long before, not minutes before the actual whatever it is that they want to happen. You know,
days before.
Yeah, days, or even, you know, okay, let's give them. You know, they don't have all the time. Okay, just, you know, if they're planning it in the evening, I think, you know, just being extra careful during the day. Let's start in the morning, being more attentive and being, you know, yeah, I think that helps.
Wow, thanks, Chel. Parang you spoke for the women on behalf of all the women. Chrina, you're still young. I mean, you're 6 years in marriage. What do you want your husband to know, or the men out there? How do?
Yeah, I guess I agree with Chel as well. I think feeling connected first on a non-physical level is always what prepares you emotionally, right? For sex and that kind of intimacy, that the intimacy actually that the woman is looking for is like a connected kind of intimacy. And that just manifests differently for the men. But you know, that connection, and I think it's hard to be ready for that when you're also thinking about a lot of things. So helping us take care of things in the house, you know, like, you know, I'm thinking about my kids, you know, putting them to bed. I'm thinking about bedtime and bath time and things like that. And so, you know, helping out with that really helps. You know, if we can do all those things first, then I feel more prepared, or, you know, then my heart's also in the right place, right?
Agree.
I'm more present in that way as well for my husband. So,
let's hear it from the veterans. From Stella and Rina.
Yeah, for me, I think because of my age, I guess there were different seasons. No, it was different in the first, I mean, you know, 15 years of being married, and then when the children came, iba na ulit. No, I think understanding what we're going through, not only as a wife but also as a mother, would greatly help, because I think women are more emotional and we respond. You know, we respond not because there's a certain age, like maybe after 40, after 50. It's not really that important to us, as it is with them. Affection is more important to us.
More important.
Yeah, and we don't feel neglected when they give us time. It's because there's just many hats that we're wearing. Yeah, and when we understand that, and you can see that, you know, when we can see that they try to understand you. I mean, you're like, nagme-menopause na, it can be hormonal. I mean, you know, it's also trying to understand what the woman is. And I think in our culture, that's also where we are missing out, in really trying to find out how they are. I mean, you know, physically.
The hormonal changes and all.
Yeah, it's understanding and being with them. Because I think women respond to kindness and affection.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Women respond to kindness and affection. And we can't say no to that, right? So let's, I saved the best for last. It's Rina. Because you've been married the longest time.
Well, just to add to what everybody else has said, you know, and regardless of the season of your life, you know, whether you're 5 years married, 50 years married, my take would be that, you know, the men should understand that, you know, the signs of affection that they might display, like I said, you know, we want foreplay and stuff like that, should not always lead to sex.
Yeah.
Okay. Otherwise, you know, we begin to distance ourselves from intimacy because we don't always want to have sex. Okay. The men do want it more than we do. Okay. But we do want to hold their hand. We do want to put our head on their shoulder, you know, without necessarily them thinking we want to go to bed.
Yeah.
You know, because otherwise, then you'll refrain from acts of intimacy. You know, when you don't feel like you want to have sex, but you do want to be intimate with your husband, to be loving, you know, to touch him, to you know, also show signs of affection. You know, but if it, you know, if all those gestures will always lead to sex, then I think it just sometimes makes it, you know, where you distance yourself from that simply because you don't want it to, what you don't want it to.
Yeah. Good point. So I now move to the the very last but the most important question. No? So I want to ask each one of you what the role of God is in your marriage. So let's start off with the youngest one.
The role of God in my marriage. God is our marriage was by God and it's for God. I don't think our marriage can exist apart from our relationship with God. God called us into unity, and He binds us together. And I think He directs our marriage. He points us where we should take our family, and I think that we can't afford to make decisions apart from God in our relationship. We don't have what it takes. We simply don't have a cord of three strands. It's not easily broken, and really, we rely on Him daily for sustaining our marriage on a daily basis. I think it's easy to leave that at the altar and to kind of just, you know, say it on the day that you get married. But I think, you know, in our short 6 years, we found that even in just 6 years, on a daily basis, we need God to sustain us and to keep our marriage together and to keep our marriage strong. So
that's good.
It's very much the driver, takes the driver's seat in our relationship. Yeah.
Thanks, Chrina. Can we hear from Chel?
Okay. I think God is the glue that holds this marriage together. You know, if not for Him, then I think one of us, you know, or maybe both of us, you know, have long been walked away from this marriage because we're very similar, but we're very different also. And you know, and I think, you know, when I wouldn't rather look at him, there's really nothing to look onto but God. You know, I had to look at God and, you know, God, please help me see my husband as how you see him, because, you know, I think marriage has too many challenges, and you know, just the everyday of the everyday, you know, it's really a struggle from morning till night. You know, you think you're having a good day, and then, you know, suddenly just one word, just one facial expression would ruin it. You know, and yeah, really, if not for God, then I don't think this marriage will go anywhere.
Okay, thanks, Chel. Stella?
Yeah, I guess we really acknowledge that, you know, God is the author of marriage. And whenever there are conflicts, whenever, you know, there would always be rough times. And when both of us would go back to Him, being the author of the marriage, I think that's when His grace would flow. And I realized that I don't think any marriage can last without Him, really, because it's commitment still. And because we keep going back to Him, I mean, you know, the role was actually given by Him to both of us. Like, God has given the role of a woman to be a helpmate. And we realized that, you know, we are to help them in what God has really made them do. I mean, you know, work was given to them first, but then the women was given to them. The woman was given to them to help them in the work that they are to do. So I guess without God, it's gonna be really, I mean, you know, not hard. It's gonna be hard, and the children also will. We see that. I mean, you know, magkaiba ng culture, magkaiba ng pinanggalingan, di ba? Magkaiba ng personality, lahat yun. So it's Him. Hindi yung gusto mo, yung gusto ko, really, but what does He wants. So I think the Bible is the ano pa rin. So you don't feel bad kasi what does it say? It's not what you want, not what I want really, but what does God want. So, uniting factor. It's because
the glue nga, as Shell said.
Yeah. And you know, the importance of forgiveness, it's hard to forgive. But then, because that's
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Stella. Now, Rina, can we hear from you? Ay, nag-freeze siya.
Okay.
There.
You know, there's a song that says, love will keep us together. There's another song that says, loving is easy. It's the living that's hard. And which is so true, you know. And I actually believe that it's not love that sustains the marriage. It is the marriage sustains the love. Okay? Because
can you repeat that, Rina?
Marriage is a covenant. It is not. You know, it's the marriage that will sustain the relationship. It's not the love. Because when we understand that marriage is a covenant, it is not a contract, you know. And of course, that covenant has God in the middle of it. You know, so when you have a covenant, it doesn't depend on your husband doing the things that he's supposed to do. It depends on you doing the things that you're supposed to do. And trusting God that God will let your husband do what he has to do. Okay? Because it is a covenant. You know, so you stay with it whether or not the other party is doing what he has to do. It is a covenant. And the only way that it's going to happen is by God's grace. And I tell you, if it had not been for God's grace, I would not be married 50 years. Because, you know, there's just too many ups and downs, you know, and, you know, it's so easy to walk away, you know, as Chela was saying, you know, there are times you just say, oh my gosh, this isn't worth it. I think I'm just better off. I'll just walk away, you know, and forget this, you know, I don't need this, right?
Yeah.
You know, so when you say, wait, you know, this marriage is a covenant, you know, and this covenant has produced children. You know, and your legacy will depend on, will have an influence on what your children's lives are going to be, you know. And so when you understand that, then you work harder, but you work because God's grace is with you, because you cannot do it on your own. On our own, we would walk away. On our own, you would say, we would chuck it and say, forget this. Yeah, I can be happier without him, all right? But I tell you, God's grace from beginning to end is what sustains a marriage. And we understand that marriage is a covenant, and therefore we do not walk away from it. You know, we keep it going, but we draw from God's grace each day.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think hearing it from a person who's been married for 50 years, the audience watching this one should be listening. Okay, so wow, I believe you've enlightened a lot of men out there and have exposed your brains and your hearts to make them understand how we are wired and what's important to us. So before I close, at this point, I would like you to invite the audience to follow any project you're doing or anything that you're promoting. Let's start off with Chrina. Anything you want to promote?
No, my full-time job is running a foundation called the ROHEI Foundation. We're an advocacy that, is designed to help families see that adoption is one way that God builds our families. And so if it's something that's on your heart, feel free to
they can support
reach
that.
out to us. Yeah, to support it, or if you have stories that you'd like to share or questions, or there are things that we could help you with, we'll be happy to do that. So
you have a website?
Yes, ROHEIFoundation.org.
Okay, so we will probably put a link below this video so that the audience, if any are interested to support it or share, be part of it, then they can get in touch with you. Anybody else who wants to promote anything? Stella?
Yeah, I just want to invite any one of you who's we are involved in the Market Project. Cynthia knows about it because she's with us. It's more of equipping people, or equipping people where they should be in the marketplace. It's bringing the biblical principles in the marketplace, and mostly for the next generation. So it's equipping you wherever you are, in whatever field God has called you. So they have the market community. You can go there on Facebook. So we have
Facebook.
We have webinars and programs and events. Like we have an upcoming event, Treasures Within Reach. The author Willie Chua will be conducting a workshop more for the younger people, and especially now at this time during people using their jobs and what to do, what do I do now. It's more of knowing really what you have inside of you, because God has given the solution already. It's just that we're not seeing it, but it's in there. So basically that's it. And you can watch out for the events, and there's coaching and disciples there.
Yeah. Thanks, Stella. Anybody else who wants to promote something before we end it?
Me, I just want to invite, whoever's interested, if you want to add mama drama in your life, you want to to follow the whinings and the winnings of a mother, of a wife, I think you can, you might want to follow my blog. It's chelascloset at wordpress.com.
Okay. Wow, you're fulfilling your purpose, Chel. You've been holding that for a long time, Rina, you want to promote anything?
No, nothing to promote at this time.
Okay. So maybe I can also start sounding off the online launch of my book. I have a devotional coming out by last quarter of this year. So we're planning an online launching of the book. So we'll keep you posted. Okay, thank you so much for joining me this morning, for choosing to be with me. Thank you so much. See you.
Thank you, Cynthia, for giving us the opportunity. It's a privilege.